First of all, I just so want to thank all of you for coming here. As you all know, my mom asked for a very small, immediate family-only funeral. And as I think back, I think that what she didn't want was a bunch of people to sit around and feel sad, because that was so not what my mom was about. And so my brother and my husband and Chris and I talked, and we decided, we knew that what she really wanted was all of her friends and all the people that she loved to be together and to be joyous and to celebrate her life. So, excuse me, I'm going to steal this. Sorry, I'm going to try to get through this.
Glad it's the water, not the wine.
No, it's vodka. So it's just, even just planning this party has been such a healing process for me. And each of you, as you walked in the door, it just has been so heartwarming to see you, and people that have traveled from all over the country and people that I haven't seen in decades who made the effort to be here. I just want to really thank you all for coming. I'm sorry, I'm going to use my notes because I have so many awesome things to say that I don't want to forget anything. So I told, where's Dick Arms? I told him he can't judge my speech afterwards. He's a Toastmasters pro. I always knew that I had an awesome mom. Even my earliest memories as a child were that she was always nurturing and always kind and always fun and always cared about things in my world as if they were the most important thing in her world. And most importantly, she always made me know how much I mattered. And I can happily say I never took it for granted. I never went through a stage with my mom. I always, from as far back as I can remember until just recently, considered her my closest confidant and my best friend. Excuse me. She always nurtured the person that I was, and she really is the reason for the person that I've become. I like to flatter myself and think that my mom and I had a lot of similarities, but we also had a lot of differences. I always had this sort of crazy thirst for risk and adventure that my mom never really could relate to. And I remember in high school when I came home one day and said, hey, Mom, I'm going to do this exchange program. I'm going to move to DC for a semester, and I'm going to live with a strange family, and I'm leaving in a few months. And you know, she just kind of got this look of like, I've never heard of anything like this, and sort of shock and awe at me. But she never told me I couldn't go, and she, you know, asked a lot of questions and made sure it was okay and encouraged me to leave. And after a week, I was so incredibly homesick. I just wanted to come home. And I remember calling my mom thinking, she's going to be so happy. She's just going to put me on that next plane, and I'm going to be home right back with my family. Not so much. So she called Grace Marie, her best friend, who lived in DC, and said, you know, please go give Stacey some extra support. But she never implied that it would be okay for me to abandon the program and come home. And then later in life, I came home, same thing. I think actually I wasn't even at home anymore, and I called her and I said, I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to go backpacking for about 6 weeks, and I don't really know where I'm going to go, but I have a flight there and a flight back, and I'm going by myself. And I just, you know, that same sort of look of like shock and awe of like, who is this daughter of mine? But again, you know, she asked a couple questions, made sure it was okay, but she never implied that, you know, I couldn't go or that it was a bad idea. And then, you know, a couple days later, she said, you know, why don't I meet you in France for a week, and we'll rent a car and drive around. And those are some of the memories I have of my mom and how she, you know, she really always encouraged me to be me. And some would say that maybe she should have been a little bit more overprotective. But, you know, so many of those memories made me be the person that I am. And she empowered me to make these decisions and to make good choices and to know that I was going to have to be accountable for the results. And sometimes bad and homesick. Although, of course, later I went to college and it was like so easy because I had already been through this experience. And sometimes great. I mean, those memories I had of driving through France with her on the wrong side of the road and getting a flat tire, and you know, those are some of the best memories I have. And that was what my mom did for me. She encouraged me to be the person that I was and to make the choices and to live life fully, even though she didn't always totally relate to my decisions. And I remember we were just talking at my table over there. After college, I came home for the summer and decided to wait tables until I figured out what I wanted to do with my life, which was super fun. We've been telling stories about it. And I remember after about maybe 2 weeks, my mom said, "So, you have a college degree, and it's nice to have you home, but you can stay for 3 months. And after 3 months, you can either move out or you can pay me rent at the going rate." And I thought, pay you rent? I mean, clearly she doesn't need my rent money. But again, that was my mom encouraging me. You have a degree. It's time for you to go. And when August rolled around and I thought, I can't really imagine writing my mom a rent check. Like, I got to get out of here and do something. And that's when I bought a one-way ticket to San Francisco and, made something of my life. And so much of that was because my mom was always encouraging me to be the person that I was and am. And we, at my table, my friend John had the great idea to kind of go around and tell good, memories of Judy. And so many of the people just at the table talked about how she loved us for who we were. And she encouraged us to be ourselves. And there was never any judgment. She loved all people from all walks of life. And I know you all, everyone's nodding, you can remember sitting with her, and she appreciated the differences in everybody and who they were. And in some, those are some of the ways that my mom was so exceptional. She was so kind and giving it to everyone and such a great listener. And since my mom's passing, so many people have reached out to me and shared stories with me, people that I haven't seen or heard from or thought about for literally decades. I got an email from my best friend in second grade, Martha. And actually, it was a Facebook message. I mean, I literally haven't talked to her in like 30 years. And she said, "I remember your mom so well. I remember that she always told me that I was cute as a button. And I never felt cute as a young child. And your mom really helped me change how I felt about myself." And I think she's done that for so many of us, And I got another email from my best friend in middle school, Beth, who's back in the room. And she said, "I remember your mom changing your cousin's diapers. And he had moles on his body. And she said, 'Oh, these are kisses from angels.' And I always had moles," Beth said. "I always had moles, and I hated them. And she helped me change the way I thought about them. And now I have a son, and he knows that he is beyond blessed by angels." And it's just, there was just such an outpouring of stories like this. And I just felt so overwhelmed at all the people who have been so touched by my mom in that way. And that, again, that's what she did for people. She paid attention to people. She listened to them. She cared about everybody as if they were like her closest family member. Again, I'm talking with a bunch of my high school friends, and I think a lot of my friends, even at that age, considered my mom a friend and not somewhat, another person's mom. John was joking that, like, you couldn't fool my mom. All the other parents were like, "Oh, Jorge's so sweet and nice." My mom's like, "Watch out for that smooth-talking kid." And it's true. And even people have said, even to me tonight, how much they miss talking to her, because she just had this ability to just know who the person was, what they were about, what the right thing to do, what the path was. And in those ways, she was just so powerful for all of us. But on top of that, she also just had this ability to just have fun and be irreverent and joke around. I remember in college, I played soccer in college, and the men's soccer coach he was kind of young and fun and arrogant, and he was a big racquetball player. So I said, "Hey, my mom's played racquetball. Some of her racquetball friends are here. My mom's played a few games of racquetball. You guys should play when she's in town." Of course, the whole men's team was like piled on, like, "Oh, you're going to play Stacey's mom. You're going to lose." None of them ever believed that could actually happen. And so it turned into this big thing. And the day of the game, like, all the men's team and all the women's team, everyone's at the racquetball court for this big occasion. And my mom just played it perfectly. She just strutted in and, just like, "Oh, I'm going to play this game." And of course, she completely cleaned up the court with him. Like, he had no chance. And the teams were going nuts. And I mean, still, my college friends still bring that day up to me. And I think back, that she was an athlete and she was a competitor and she knew how to, just jump in there and jump right in that game. And she wasn't just this like great advice person. There were so many aspects to her personality that were just so amazing. And I could talk for hours and just tell more and more stories. It's funny because Saul, as we were telling stories, my husband Saul brought this up that I was planning to talk about, was her principles. She was very committed to her principles, and she always had these little sayings that, if you were telling her, Barry's laughing, if you were telling her a story and, you needed advice or an answer, she always had some principle like do the right thing or get to the truth. And, we always joke that we'd write out all of her principles, but, pretty much any story you had to tell her, at the end, she could come up with some principle that it adhered, that, you should follow. And they're also true. And pretty much they always fall under the category of like doing the right thing and taking the high road and making the right choice. And, now when I'm struggling and I miss her and I just want to talk to her and I just want to get that advice from her. And I can close my eyes and I can know what she would say. Sorry. Because it was always the high road. She always took the high road, and she always encouraged everybody to take the high road. And it's made such an impact on my life, and every time I have these hard moments, I know what the right thing to do is. Thank you. Sorry. It's going to get worse when you see Barry's video. It's going to get worse. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell another story. I remember in high school, as a freshman, I tried out for the soccer team, as a few of you at this table did. And I so wanted to make varsity, and I just thought, as a freshman, to be on varsity would just be the most important thing that could ever happen in anyone's life ever. And the day they announced the team, there was one freshman who had made the team, and it was my friend Tanya, who I had played soccer with for years. And I remember coming home and just being so upset, and I was good enough, and why didn't they pick me, and how could they pick Tanya? And now think, what would a lot of parents these days do in my mom's position? And now what did she do? Did she say, oh, you're right, you were wrong, let's call the coach and demand a rematch? No. And did she say, oh, poor Stacey, how terrible, what are we gonna do? No. What she said to me was, Stacey, you have so much. This is Tanya's moment, and you should support her. And I remember, I was 14 years old. I remember thinking, I wasn't mad that she said it. I didn't want her to react the other way. I remember agreeing with her and thinking, Tanya deserves this, and I'm gonna, this is her shining moment, and I'm gonna support her on it. And those thoughts and actions don't come natural to a 14-year-old girl. That was what my mom did for me. Those were the things my mom taught me. It was her principles and her morals. And certainly what happened, I played on the freshman team with all my best friends. I had an awesome time. And my time to play varsity soccer and love it came. So again, it's those things. Sometimes it's harder to take that high road and to do the right thing and to be a really principled person like my mom always was. But she taught me that it's just always the right way to be. I think about my friend Sally, who sent me an email, and how many of us in this room can say, I am a better person for having known your mom. And it's so true. And now I feel like I try so hard to make those principles mine. And in some ways that makes me still feel close to her, that I can try to do the things that she did and the things that she believed. And as I look around this room and I see so many people who have shared stories with me and told me stories about my mom, and how many of us can say, like Sally did, that we're better people for having known my mom. And then if we take all these people in this room and we multiply it by 1,000, that might, I mean, as she was a teacher for years, I mean, it might begin to approach all of the people that my mom has positively impacted. And I think that, you know, one of the things Lee's daughter, Debbie, around the funeral time said such a great thing. She said, to know her was to be loved by her. And it's just, that hit me so hard. It's so true. Everyone she met, she just showed such love and caring and listening and affection for. And I think that's why so many of us feel such a sense of loss at not having her, because, you know, I got emails from Anna Drew and people that were just, so many people that she was our go-to person, you know? She's the person that we called when we wanted advice, or we wanted to laugh, or share a fun story, or to connect with. And, you know, for me, I'm probably the luckiest person in the world because I got to have her as my mom. But I talked to her every day. I literally did that. I shared stories. I connected with her every day. And as those final days were coming near, I felt a sense of panic. Like, who was I going to talk to? You know, like little things that my daughters do that nobody wants to hear 10 times a day, like my mom does, you know, and who was I going to talk to? And it's been amazing for me because I've had a couple of different emotions that I didn't expect to have. And the first was that I do feel her presence so strongly. I never expected that she would be here. And when one of those silly little moments with one of my daughters that no one in the world would care about, and I just want to call her and say, you'll never believe what Lexi did. And then I just get this feeling of calm that she knows. I don't have to tell her because she knows her spirit is still here so strongly with all of us. And it's been such a comforting feeling for me to have those feelings so strongly. Coming to the end. And the other emotion that I have felt and that I feel so strongly is inspired. And in some of those final dark days, she was at UNM Hospital, and one day Chris and I took our kids to see The Lion King, which was right across the street at Popejoy Hall. And my daughter Lexi's sitting on my lap, and I'm watching The Lion King, and I guess I forgot the story of The Lion King, but here the father lion is dying in the play, and I'm just so upset. I just am sobbing. It's so close to home. The father's dying, and how is everyone going to survive? And then the song, He Lives Through You, comes on. And Simba, the child lion, he rises up and he takes the place of his father, and he carries through all of the great things that his father was. And as my little Lexi's sitting on my lap, I thought, this is what this is about. Now it's time for me. She will live through me. And it's time for me to be the kind of mom that she was to me, and the kind of wife and colleague and friend and aunt that she was to everybody in the room. And now, as I said, every challenging moment, I reach within and I think it's time for me to be that person. It's time for me to be there for everybody else the way that my mom was, and I'm sure that I can never do it the way that she did it, but I'm inspired to try. And I hope that the positive thing that can come from this is that she can inspire all of us to be a little bit more like Judy, and to listen to other people and to care about other people and to make them feel great about who they are and not to judge them. And I think if we can then inspire other people who never even knew her by our actions, then the tragic nature of her going actually isn't a loss at all, and her powerful spirit can live on in magnificent and exponential ways. So I hope that everybody can take the inspiration that she is and keep it going in our lives, because I certainly am intending to. And the last thing I want to say is that many of you know how strong my mom's faith in God was and what a spiritual person she was. And when she would come visit her, we would visit her, we would always say prayers at night with my girls, and we would always sing the Amen song at the end. And now my daughter Lexi and I sing it every night before she goes to bed. And my daughter still every night talks about Grammy. And she hopes she gets to have all the ice cream she will ever want in heaven. I say, yes, she does, but you don't. And we sing that song and we think about her. And I hope that you guys will all join me in singing a rendition of the Amen song right now. And I know that my mom will hear us singing together and will sing with us. And will feel close to us. I can't believe I'm going to sing right now. So you guys have to join me. I know some people know how it goes, so I'll sing it and everyone can join. It goes like this. Amen, 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 amen. Thank you so much for singing that with me.